Good evening and welcome to tonight's premiere video of From the Estate. We are called From the Estate because that's where we come from, an inner city council estate in North Manchester, not too far from Denton and Ashton and Hyde, where Andy Burnham was today refused the ability to run for MP, and in which case would be able to challenge Keir Starmer for the leadership of the Labour Party, of which he is far from capable of leading, as the government, the economy, the cost of living crisis, the energy prices, every crisis you can bloody think of, we are suffering here in England. Now, I have listened to many people over the last few months talking about world affairs, current affairs, and I am not a person who readily agrees to anything that I hear, but what I hear from the likes of Scott Ritter, from Judge Napolitano, Colonel McGregor, Colonel Wilkerson, and many other commentators on the world affairs, I have nothing but respect and agreement in their analysis of world affairs. I was going to talk to you today about Donald Trump, the imitation Nazi dictator of the United States of America, but instead I have to talk about affairs in England, which I don't wish to belittle my country, but belittle it must be, because it doesn't even resemble the Britain that I grew up reading about and listening to on the radio and on the free channels that were available on the TV, when you had the news at 10, the news at 6, Granada Reports. All these are nothing but propaganda machines now. So let's talk about Keir Starmer. Where did he come from? Well, according to, how can I say this now without offending one of the best legal chambers in Great Britain, which is Doughty Street Chambers, but they classed Keir Starmer as a brilliant young barrister dealing with criminal law and its human rights elements. Well, just to put the record straight, no human rights law supersedes criminal law, and you cannot use any human rights law to justify committing a criminal act. So oh God, again, I'm trying to say these things without being too offensive, without using foul language, but basically the man is full of shit. Now, the man, when he got the DPP job in 2008 off Gordon Brown, was given that job for one reason only, and that was to protect Prince Andrew. Because as we know, Jeffrey Epstein was under investigation in America because of his connection to Prince Andrew. Now, when you're seeing the likes of Abu Hamza and other verbal terrorists, because that's what they were. They were terrorists in words, and they specifically called out for Muslims to commit justifiable murder of any Jewish person. And he protected him. He stopped his extradition to Jordan, where he faced multiple charges of inciting terrorism, and Keir Starmer protected him. And you wonder why. Why would he protect someone like that? Well, if you look at it as in he had to protect them to be able to protect Prince Andrew. How else would the man be given a knighthood? Is because he worked behind the scenes to stop the extradition of Prince Andrew. Now, that might sound far-fetched to some people, but it is far from far-fetched. It is so close to home that he might as well be my next-door neighbour. Now, Keir Starmer was not a member of the Labour Party. Keir Starmer came to power faster than Adolf Hitler, and he came to power with the same promises as Adolf Hitler, that he is the adult in the room. He will make England great again. And all he has done is driven England into the ground. We are so far into the ground, we might as well be miners, which, if he was Prime Minister in the early 1990s, like Margaret Thatcher, I'm sure he would have been a lot worse than her at stopping the miners' unions, because the unions were responsible for picking the Prime Ministers of England when Labour won elections. And as it stands now, Keir Starmer, like Donald Trump, basically bullies and threatens his wooden cabinet, like the cabinet you have in your house that you abuse by putting things on top of it, books in it, slamming doors, kicking it, hitting it with the Hoover. That's Keir Starmer with his cabinet. It is just a piece of furniture, something that is just there to put your problems on. Now, Keir Starmer joined the Labour Party in 2014. 10 years later, he is the Prime Minister of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And he came to power on more lies than Jeffrey Epstein, shall we say. Jeffrey Epstein had an excuse and a reason for everything. Oh, they're just friends. Oh no, we just go on holiday together. Well, I'm surprised that Keir Starmer wasn't on any of them manifests going to his private island. But why did he need Jeffrey Epstein when he has Lord Ali? Now, where did Keir Starmer meet Lord Ali? In my view, he met him when he was the legal officer for a civil liberties group called Liberty. And he was the legal officer in 1999 for 12 months until he was promoted to a brand new chambers called Daughtry Street Chambers. And who did he share an office with? Cherry Blair. Now, for 10 years he worked with Cherry Blair, and you can Google Cherry Blair's name and Keir Starmer's name, and there is no connection. I found out just by chance that they worked together for 10 years. 10 years, eh? And in 10 years, what did he do? He was responsible for writing a few letters, getting death penalties commuted to life sentences in prisons that you wouldn't put an animal in. And these people, I'm sure, would have rather have died than spend the rest of their lives sharing a cell with 30, 40 other men with nothing but a bucket to piss and shit in, and no exercise. Everything from the water you drank to the food you ate cost money. Having a bed was an impossibility. There was no room, and he was responsible, I would say, for ruining the lives of these people. And yet he claimed himself a champion of human rights. And yet the human rights of the people of England don't mean a sausage to him. He has cut benefits, he has cut child benefits, he has cut every benefit under the sun because he needs to feed Ukraine. Ukraine, which, as we know, is at war with Russia. Russia is not at war with the Ukraine. It's as a special military operation, and it is winning hands down. But according to British propaganda, European propaganda, American propaganda, the Ukraine is holding its own. Yeah, the only thing it's holding are its privates. Yeah, because if it didn't have hold of them, they would be shot off. That's how close the Russians are to the Ukrainian soldiers. And you might say, oh, they've only took 1%. Yeah, they've took 1%, and they've killed 25 to 50% of Ukrainian servicemen. Considering 500,000 servicemen have gone AWOL, 500,000 injured, it seems that there won't be a Ukrainian man left alive to even speak about Russia, let alone speak the Russian language, which was the original language of Ukraine, along with the church, the Orthodox Church. And I think it's about time that more people like myself, who have no qualifications to speak on these matters, but I have belief and I have understanding, qualifications are not needed. Putin deserves the Peace Prize. Not the Nobel Peace Prize, but a Peace Prize from the people who count, which is the citizens of the European Union, of Britain, and even America. Because we're starting to see this war for what it is. It is fought on the hope that we can defeat Russia. And if we defeat Russia, I will gladly turn into a gimp and live in a basket, because it's not going to happen. You cannot beat Russia. The Nazis worked that out. The British worked that out in 1918, 1919, 1920, when we sent army after army to fight the Bolsheviks in Russia. Everyone was defeated, not just strategically, but completely. And then Napoleon found out, to the death of 1 million Frenchmen. How many Nazis died fighting the Russians? Uncountable. But we know that between 25 and 50 million Russians died fighting the Germans. And the Russians, as they are doing now, had to fight the entire West. Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, every country in Europe was at war with the Russians. They was at war with the Russians because of propaganda. We was told that, oh, the Russians, oh, we can't have the Russians coming. But they got there and it wasn't as bad as everyone makes out. Yeah, they built a wall, but they built a wall not just to keep people in, but to keep Western spies out. And just as we are doing now all over Europe and in Iran and in other places like Syria and Jordan, we are sending NGOs to just create situations where not just the people rise up, but the agitators make them rise up. They make them commit atrocities. In fact, they don't commit atrocities. The agitators commit atrocities. And the population themselves are blamed. So where do we stand? We stand with an American battle group on the coast of Iran and Bibi Netanyahu rubbing his hands. Can't wait for America to strike because he knows he can't strike. They tried that in June and look what happened. But let America attack Iran and they will be annihilated. The weaponry that Iran has built up over the years, hypersonic missiles, we think Russia has got enough hypersonic missiles. Well, Iran has more. Iran is that advanced in military hardware that it even supplies Russia. So, you know where we're heading. And if America is suffering a strategic defeat, then it is the end of the world. And did you notice how my voice lowered then? But that's what will happen, the end of the world. And the likes of Starmer and his cabinet, well, his furniture will be moved into an underground bunker, which hopefully the Oreshnik will just obliterate and wipe out our government, along with the governments of every other European country, especially the Germans, who have found their voice again and are proclaiming that they want to create the biggest army in Europe, which again will be the Wehrmacht. The Wehrmacht, God, the last time we had the Wehrmacht, we cost the lives of hundreds of thousands of Western soldiers. It cost the lives of 30 plus millions of Russian people, and that is where we are going. Except the Russians will not lose 30 million people this time. I hope not anyway. Not because I hate England. I love my country. But can you love your country and hate its politics? Certainly you can. Just ask George Galloway. Ask Scott Ritter, who loves America but hates the way they are going. The same with everyone who speaks openly about the disgraceful behaviour of the American government and the American military. If we had a military, I would be calling them. But we do not have a military to speak of. We have more Man United fans visiting Old Trafford every week than we have British soldiers in our armed forces. That is ridiculous. And we think we can, with a coalition of the willing, with France and Germany, protect the likes of Ukraine. How about the coalition of the willing stopping the boats from illegally entering Britain? Eh? Why can't we use that against the French if we wish to join the French? Because we're not part of Europe. Let Europe do something for us. Let them stop the boats. And when they stop the boats, we will offer what little armed forces we have. And if they do that, then it's a win-win for Britain, because our troops will not be sent to Ukraine. Russia will not allow it. That is the whole reason for their special military operation. The likes of NATO and Britain, France, Germany think they are NATO, but NATO is America. America, thousands of miles away. They can't win a war. They only got involved in World War II because they could station millions of soldiers on British soil. If they had nowhere to put them, where do you think they would go? Nowhere. Why do you think they had to island up in the Pacific? Because every island they took, they stationed hundreds of thousands of soldiers there so they could take the next island. And they stationed thousands of soldiers there and made airfields so they was in reach of Japan. Eh? And look at Japan following in America's footsteps. Oh, if they attack Taiwan, we will attack China. Huh? What, like you did in 1930? Eh? What happened then? Eh? You suffered catastrophic casualties at the hands of the Communist Party. Eh? And what, now you support one of the men, or the descendants of the men who killed tens of thousands of Japanese soldiers? Wow. There was a time when Japan, the history, it was part of them, but now it's not. The same with England. Our history was part of us. Now our history is something we can't stand. We don't want to be a part of. But anyway, let me know what you think about what I've said. Maybe I've not been as, how can we say it? Maybe I've not been exactly, I won't say truthful, because everything I've said is the truth. Maybe I've not been as full on in the things I have said, but I have just cut it down to the basics. Now, hopefully, if anyone sees this, I would like to get a petition to nominate Putin, not for the Nobel Peace Prize, but for a special European Peace Prize, because Russia is part of Europe, but Russia holds every resource known to man, and Europe wants it. So does America. It's all right, America taking Venezuela. The oil is that thick. The only thing it's good for is for the movement of tanks. And if they're lucky, they can make jet fuel out of it. And there is a few cracking plants, or shall we say refineries in America, that are specifically made for Venezuelan oil, the same as in China. But Russia has the same kind of oil. So China won't go without. America will. Venezuela, they're not producing oil. All their wells, they've gone to pot. But never mind. Maybe they can invade somewhere else. I don't know, Greenland. Oh, sorry. They already are. Hey, they say they won't use force. But you can't use force against 60,000 people. You could send in ICE, you know, the American Gestapo, eh? And their border police, eh? They'll soon sort them out. I mean, there has to be more than 60,000 combined ICE and Border Patrol agents who were quite capable of putting the Greenlanders under the jackboot, eh? So let's see what happens next. But I will put on my channel some more videos. So if you like what you've heard and you want to hear a little bit more, maybe a little bit more refined for the people who think, oh, he's a bit rough, he's a bit raw. Well, I am, because I'm from the estate. And when you're from the estate, this is how we live. We live at the bottom of the ladder. The only step below us is hell, you know, and we'll fight like, I don't know, like FCUK, the French Connection, to stay from underneath that eel. But it looks like Starmer is taking us there. So if you want to hear more and you want to ask questions and you want to receive answers, then please subscribe to the channel, and you never know, we might be able to make a little bit of a difference, even if it is just verbally. Take care, my friends, and good night.